Hey, everybody. It's time for some team training for the Oklahoma Housing Needs Assessment Project. And today we're going to talk about classifying GIS data. And this is part of our series to become more proficient with ArcGIS software. And I'm going to switch over to ArcMap. And if you watch the symbology tutorial, then this file is going to look very familiar to you. So in the symbology exercise, we started making an atlas for the continent of Africa. And so this exercise picks up where that one left off. And you can see here we've got a layout, and it's got 6 different data frames in it. And in the previous exercise, we looked at major cities, countries, rivers, wildlife, and topography. And now we have a new one over here called countries. And it just has the one country layer in it in that data frame. And I'm going to go and switch to my data view here. And if I open up the attribute table, again, you're going to see that we have the list of the different countries that are each a polygon in the map, and then its area and some population data. So what we're going to do here is make a population map, and I'm going to double click on countries and open up the properties dialog box, and we'll go to symbology. And so, we've been looking at changing the symbology of features as a single symbol and as different categories, but now we're going to look at quantities. Okay, and once again, we have a field for value here. So we're going to start off with gradiated colors, and we're going to use the population in 2000 here. And then the color ramp, I think I'm going to switch to kind of this monochromatic yellow brown map here. And if I hit apply, I'll show it to you. You can kind of see that now it is showing the countries by their population size. And so Nigeria has the largest population of any of the African countries. So you can see it's clearly here, the dark countries, and then the more sparsely populated areas are ranged down to these yellows here. And you say, well, that looks great, Sean, but how'd you get that classification? How does it the classification work? And so over here, you can see we have classification. If I click on classified, there's different methods, right? And for this, you might need to have a little bit of background in descriptive statistics, but I think I can kind of show you that there's some different methods, and most of them are pretty easy to use. Now, before we change the method, first of all, you can break it down into any number of classes. 5 is the default. It gives you the descriptive statistics over here. So it says, okay, we got 49 entities, the minimum value, the maximum, the sum, the mean, the median, and the standard deviation. And what's really nice is it draws a little histogram here. So this is the population. You can see that most of the countries here are below 1 million in population, and then it's sort of there's just a few. So this represents 1 unit high here. So that each one of these bars is a separate country. And you can see Nigeria is kind of an outlier way out here by itself. And then these blue lines represent how it's classified. And so the default here is it uses something called the natural breaks or Jenks method to put it into 5 classes. And what it does, it just looks at where the data kind of naturally breaks down. But we can change that. We can have equal intervals, right? So this is just 5 equal intervals. Now, if we do that, I hit OK here and then apply, and you'll see that the map changes, right? So it's the same data, but we are just, we are changing the way it looks. I can go back here and I can also say, all right, well, we're just going to go with 3 classes now. Okay, we'll go back to the Jenks method. I'm sorry, let's stay with the equal interval, right? And we say, okay. And then now if we apply it, it looks a lot different, right? And again, it's the same method, just fewer classes. Let's go back. Let's try another one. This is a quantile method. So the lowest is the bottom 25%, top, and we're going to need more. Lowest 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75, and then 75 to 100%. So this is by quantiles. Boy, that looks way different. So notice this is all the same data, but it's being shown differently depending on how we classify it, right? And part of the problem here is that we're looking at raw population, and these countries have different areas, and so we could actually normalize it by their areas, and this would give us population density. And so if I do that, then you get a whole different picture, right? So Rwanda and Burundi here they're small countries, but they have very high densities. The rest of the content the rest of the continent is very low density, except for maybe Nigeria, which is still pretty high density, even though it has a large size. Okay, so just hit OK there. I hope that gives you some insight on how to do some rudimentary classification, in this case using population. And now I'm going to switch over to topography. First of all, I got to activate that. There we go. And so if you remember this was a topo map that we created, and we can zoom in on this, and I'm particularly interested in areas below sea level. So this is a depression here known as the Afar Depression. You can see along the coast there's some low areas, but I'd really like to be able to see that the areas that are below sea level, and I want them to really stand out. So to do that, I'm going to have to classify. And so I'm going to go to my elevation layer here. I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to hit properties, and we'll get the symbology here. And you can see we got a color ramp here. Okay. And that's using our stretched function. But if I go to classified, you can see, well, now, it's going to let me classify things, using my own color ramp. I can do whatever I want here. So I'm gonna actually start out with elevation number 2, and I think I want a fair number of classes here. So we'll go with 10. I'll apply that. See how that looks. Okay, there you go. Right. And now if we click on classify here, you're going to see that the break here is at 287. Okay. But what we really want is we want to be able to adjust this, so we can click on manual, and it will keep all of the existing breaks. And we're just going to click on that one and change it to 0. Okay. So that's sea level now at the first break, and you see it's red here. Okay. So do OK. And then I'm going to change the color of it. I'm going to make it this bright red color. And now I'm going to hit apply. Well, there you go. Now you can see that Afar Depression very clearly. And you say, well, why isn't it bright red, Sean? Well, if you'll remember, we've got some transparency turned on. If I turn that transparency off, it should become very bright red again. Yeah, there you go. But it changed all the other colors as well. So I like it the way I had it the first way, actually. So, but basically the point is here is you can change the classification, and not only can we change, shape files and numeric data in like population, but we can also adjust and classify raster images. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to move on here we're going to start talking about mapping density. Now, I already showed you kind of how to make a chloropath map, but you can also do dot density maps. And so we've got a population density map here. Again, I'm going to move over to the data view and right click on countries, properties, symbology, right? And now we'll go to quantities, and this time instead of graduated symbols, we'll go down to dot density here. And you can say draw quantities using dots to show values. Okay. So let's select population 2000 again. All right. And then you'll see down here, it gives you kind of some things you can control. Right now, it just assigns this number randomly. So if you don't like that color, again, we can change the dots. We can change the background. You can change the dot size, right? And here's the dot value. So each dot here is going to represent 400,000 people. And you can control this however you like. Yeah, so I'm just gonna try this here. We'll apply this. All right, and there we go. And so now, here's the thing. I don't really like that color, so I'm going to just go in and manually change that so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. And there they are, right? And so, you can see here that, every dot represents 400,000 people. And it shows, again, Nigeria, the most populous. You can also see the high density of population in Rwanda and Burundi. Now, there's some things you should be aware of here. Each of these dots is just displayed randomly inside the boundaries of its country. So you can see in some of these less populated countries like Chad over here, there's sort of dots spread all over the place, okay? But that's not how the population is really distributed, okay? There's probably a concentration of people. Most of the dots are probably concentrated right here around the Niger River and what was Lake Chad at one point. Most of the area here is in the Sahara Desert, and so you're getting some error there because it just calculates the random, it places the dots randomly. But it can still be useful to show densities, particularly if you're dealing with some smaller areas than maybe just country. So if we were doing this on our census tracts, it might be more useful. All right. One last sort of classification method I want to show here is using symbols that are like pie charts and things like that. So we're going to start here. We've got a map for the distribution of diamond mines, and you can see here we've got a layer that has the mines, okay, and they are located, but they're all have the same symbol. So if I open up the properties again, and we'll go to symbology, and then I'm going to go to quantities, right, and I'm going to go proportional symbols, and then I'm going to say the size rank, okay, and it gives me like the minimum and maximum values, okay, that I can use here. Also lets me choose the number of symbols to display in the legend. I'm just going to apply this here and see what we get. There we go. So it actually really is not it's not showing us too much. I mean, it could be the units that we have selected here. Well, that's even worse, right? Okay. Here we go. There we go. All right. All right. So I don't know why it didn't like that, but and basically now, you know, we've got three levels of rank, and you can change this. So like the lowest one is set at 8. I'm going to take it down to 4 here. But you can see now that they're showing proportionally. So the areas, the mines that have, you know, that are larger are showing with the larger symbols. So you can see here in the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Africa, there's a lot of large mines, whereas there's a bunch of mines here in the Central African Republic, but they're not very large. All right. And then lastly, let's go take a look at a map for power. I'm going to open the attribute table here, and you can see that we've got a category here, a field for fossil fuels, hydropower, and other sorts of power. And so what we want to see is how dependent are the different countries on fossil fuels and or hydropower. So once again, I'm going to open up the properties and go to quantities, and we're going to go proportional symbols. I'm sorry, we're going to go to charts. We're going to do a pie chart, and I'm going to add fossil, hydro, and other. And I'm going to, you can change the colors for these. So for the fossil fuels, I'm going to go with red, and the hydropower will go with blue. Seems logical. And the other will go with yellow. And so it's going to draw a pie chart for each country showing these. Now we can click on the chart. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. We can do a 3D display if you want more of a hockey puck sort of thing. I'm just going to apply there, and there you go. So it kind of has a nice, and you can control the background here. So it made it this lavender color, but I can change it back to Sahara sand if you prefer. And so there you go. So you can see we can show some variables, you know, based on chart, and you can do bar charts as well, and some other tricks. But you can kind of see, you know, in the northern part of the continent, there's a lot of fossil fuel development, whereas in the Congo, you know, there's a lot of rivers, a lot of hydropower. So it pretty clearly shows that. So now I'm just going to go out to our layout view. We've sort of finished our atlas now, where we have the different maps available that we created in the last two exercises. So that's going to take care of it for this lesson, and we're going to look at labeling features in a future lesson.